Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach got the boxing world arguing back and forth, and we getting ready to talk about that right now. This is Serious Grind Boxing, where we're dedicated to the grind and dedicated to you. That's why we do what we do. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share this with the world. This is going to be a long boxing talk right now because I got a lot of thoughts in my mind. Do you understand? Okay, so peep this. Gervonta Tank Davis, he walked into the Barclays Center with an unbeaten record, and he had this persona and this aura of invincibility. And of course, he had the WBA lightweight title strapped around his waist. But I'm going to tell you like this. Now that the dust has settled, Gervonta Tank Davis walked out of the ring with a controversial majority draw. He had a wave of boos raining down on him, and there's a lot of questions surrounding his future. Now, one judge had it 115 to 113 for Gervonta Tank Davis. The other two scored it 114 to 114, resulting in a decision that nobody is happy with and everybody is arguing with. And they are talking about the game of boxing being a complete business money machine. You understand what I'm saying? I'm going to talk about this home cooking and why I think Lamont Roach Jr. was robbed of a victory. Now, Lamont Roach Jr., when I tell you this guy stunned the world, he didn't get a win. But I'm telling you, man, he walked away with an unofficial victory. You got what I'm saying? Because he has the victory that everybody wants in life, and that's the victory of respect. Because that man came in a massive underdog. People are not even thinking about this. Even though he was a champion at 100, and he is currently the champion at 130 pounds, guess what? He still was the underdog. People were talking about him like he was a nobody. He was supposed to be a highlight reel victim for Gervonta Tank Davis, but instead he put on like he was really putting on. He put on a fight of his life. You understand what I'm saying? And in my opinion, and he arguably outworked Gervonta Tank Davis over 12 rounds. And the numbers do not lie. I don't care what people say. From what I saw and from what I did some research on, Lamont Roach Jr. landed 112 of 400 punches. And Gervonta Tank Davis landed 103 punches of 279 punches. This is what I just wrote on my paper from the research that I just did. But somehow, when it was all said and done, Tank title remained around his waist. So I'm not really understanding what in the world is going on, and Lamont Roach Jr. is not thrilled at all. He was not happy about the decision. He said that he thought he pulled it off, and I definitely have to agree with him because it's like, man, what in the world? I do all of this fighting, and then they do this? You got what I'm saying? It's like, what in the world? I thought that Lamont Roach Jr. pulled it out. I thought he was dictating the pace. He had the better, cleaner shots. You know, he was pushing Gervonta Tank Davis back. He had Gervonta Tank Davis wobbling in the knees. And speaking of knees, I'm going to talk about the moment that changed everything to me. Gervonta Tank Davis took a knee. That's right. So for all the punches landed, the biggest moment of the fight was when Gervonta Tank Davis took a knee. That's right. Tank absorbed a jab or a couple of jabs from Roach. And then he dropped to a knee. He immediately runs to his corner so that they can wipe his face. And then the referee, his name was Steve Willis. I had called him Harvey Doc in another video, I think, or on Facebook or something. But anyway, Steve Willis, he started the count. He started the count because it was a knockdown. And then it seemed as if he changed his mind midway into the count, and he allowed Gervonta Tank Davis to illegally tend to his corner or go to his corner. And I'm just thinking in my mind, this is boxing. This is not basketball. There are no timeouts in boxing. You understand what I'm saying? So if the ref had correctly ruled a knockdown, then Lamont Roach Jr. would have won that round by 10-8, and that would have gave him the victory. Instead, they went to the scorecards, and the scorecards were very, very close. And the scorecards, they, in my opinion, were close enough to justify a draw. So I don't understand why it wasn't a knockdown, but I'm telling you, man, you could just see the different strategies that these fighters were using. I enjoyed this fight. I'm talking about from the opening bell. It was clear that Lamont Roach Jr. and Gervonta Tank Davis, they had respect because they know each other. They have fought before. They know each other. Neither of these guys were reckless in their exchanges. You know, they were countering how you're supposed to counter. And man, I was just really impressed. I was very happy. I thought that Gervonta Tank Davis, I thought he was trying to set the pace really early. I saw him throwing, like 1-2 combinations, and I was like, okay. Roach, he didn't rush out there. Lamont Roach Jr., he just remained disciplined. He was pressing forward. He never overextended himself. In the round, in the corners, they was telling Tank, don't fall in too fast. By round 7, in my opinion, Lamont Roach Jr. had landed the better shots. He had a huge counter right, and it wobbled Tank. I had never seen Tank wobble, and I was jumping up and down like, oh my God, I cannot believe it. And I think this is the moment that Tank realized, like, man, I am in for the fight of my life. And I think that, he showed the world that he wasn't there just to survive, but he was there to win, and he was applying smart pressure. He was forcing Gervonta Tank Davis in different spots. Look, Lamont Roach Jr. was dictating the pace. Oh man, the fight, it was close. Yes, it was definitely close. But I think that Lamont Roach Jr., he was just better. He just kept throwing combinations. Now, Tank, it seemed as if he did the Deontay Wilder. He was just looking for that one big shot, and that big shot never came. Do you understand? So in my mind, it's like, dog, what in the world? What do you want him to do? He did everything that he was supposed to do, he being Lamont Roach Jr. You got what I'm saying? So right now, of course, Lamont Roach Jr. is demanding a rematch. And initially, Tank at the press conference, he was like, yeah, he open to it, and then he was saying that, the powers that be want him to fight somebody else, but he'll fight Lamont Roach Jr. next year, but he's not going to be the next fight. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, dude, y'all have unfinished business, dude. So it just made me angry because I'm like, dog, this is the politics of boxing getting in the way of actual boxing. You understand what I'm saying? But either way, look, Tank got humanized. The invincibility is no longer there. You got what I'm saying? And it happened on the worst stages. This is the biggest stage of his career. And man, it's just crazy. So in my opinion, this is a complete robbery. You know what I'm saying? It's a robbery because, listen, I'm going to say this, and I'm on my rant. I'm on my rant right now. If you don't know, this is Serious Grind Boxing. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend about Serious Grind Boxing because I talk this stuff. I'm just a casual boxing fan, but I know just a teaspoon. I got like a teaspoon of knowledge, and I'm telling you, I'm just speaking the thoughts that are in my mind, and I got some crazy thoughts in this crazy mind of mine. But look, boxing is a sport where every single second, every single punch, and every single decision, whether it's by the boxer, by the referees, or by the judges, can determine a fighter's legacy. So Lamont Roach Jr., walked into the Barclays Center as a complete super underdog, put on an incredible performance. I'm going to say the performance of his life, because so many didn't know who he was, even though he's a champion at 130 right now. He moved up in weight to face a power puncher, the quote unquote face of boxing, the person that is knocking out everybody except one person, the guy that has 93% knockout ratio, right? So then he moves up to fight that guy, puts on the performance of his life, and then he did not walk out the WBA lightweight title. And I'm just saying, that's just crazy. Everybody saw what I saw, and it's just undeniable in my mind. Lamont Roach has been robbed. You got what I'm saying? And I got things to support this. You know what I'm saying? I got this brain of mine. You know what I'm saying? Look, the knockdown that everybody saw was not called a knockdown. In round 7, Gervonta Tank Davis took a knee. Before he took that knee, he had got hit with some shots. So it wasn't a slip, and what I think, it wasn't a tactical move. It was a direct result of a punch that landed by Lamont Roach Jr. I say that because Gervonta Tank Davis said that, hey, some of this juice from my hair got into my eye. Hey, maybe that's the case, but if you had just came out and then, you know, some juice got into your eye because you sweating, okay, and then you took a knee, okay, yeah, you can use that as an excuse. But you can't use that as an excuse after you got hit with some punches. Dude, you got hit with some punches. Maybe the sweat got in your eye. Maybe there was some hair juice on the sweat and it got in your eye like the excuse that you said. But you got hit a couple times. So because you got hit with some punches and then you took a knee, guess what? Steve Willis is supposed to start counting. And the referee, his name is Steve Willis. Initially, he did start counting. That's right. He began to count. And then it seemed as if he stopped counting it as a knockdown, because a knockdown was the correct call. But in the middle of the count, he changed his mind and he let the fight continue as if nothing had happened. And this is crazy, and it matters. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Everyone's arguing because look, if the knockdown had been correctly called, then Lamont Roach Jr. would have won that round by a 10-8. And when they went to the final scorecards, guess what? That would have swung the fight in his favor. And in a fight that isn't a draw, 2 points mean a lot. And Lamont Roach Jr. earned those 2 points. He had a well-earned victory. And even if, you know, I saw Terrence Crawford taking to social media, and he was questioning about how Tank took a knee and it wasn't counted as a knockdown. And then to respond to that, people posted a video of Terrence Bud Crawford fighting, I want to say Kavaliauskas, and the fight not being ruled a knockdown during that round. You got what I'm saying? So in my opinion, it is the officiating. You know, I don't blame Tank. I don't blame Lamont Roach. I blame the judges and the referee. It's my opinion that Lamont Roach Jr. won the fight, even if there had not been a knockdown. You got me? So the judging was cooked. It was cooked. So anyway, the first thing was the knockdown. The knockdown that wasn't called, or was called and then not called. It was just weird. So that's the first reason that I think he got robbed. Okay, so now the second reason I'm gonna say is Tank's corner was illegally working on him mid-round. Now look, if you don't know the rules of boxing, then you know, you can go to like the WBO, WBC, IBF, you can use Wikipedia, all of this, right? boxing has strict rules. And one of the most important rules is that if a fighter's corner cannot work on the fighter during an active round. So after taking a knee in round 7, when Gervonta Tank Davis ran to his corner and his team wiped his face, that is an automatic disqualification in accordance with the rule, period. Don't argue with me, argue with your mama. I'm just saying, Lamont Roach Jr., if he had did that same thing, he would have been disqualified on the spot. But because Gervonta Tank Davis is the A-side, the superstar, the undefeated champion with the 93% knockout ratio, it seems as if the rules were seemingly bent in his favor, and that's not a minor oversight. That is a major problem, and it's a massive, blatant violation that should have ended the fight right then and there. And Lamont Roach Jr. should have been awarded the WBA title, because the fact is that Gervonta Tank Davis was allowed to continue this fight even though his corner were breaking the rules. It is complete. It is horrible. It makes me very, very angry. And that's why I say I don't blame Tank. I don't even blame his corner. I blame the judges, and I blame Steve Willis, the referee. You understand me? So now let's get to these judges. This was a bad decision. Now, when that final bell rang, fans were expecting an outcome, and everybody was going crazy. Everyone expected Lamont Roach Jr.'s hand to be raised in victory. The numbers backed it. The eye test backed it up. The Barclays Center crowd knew that Lamont Roach Jr. had won. They even booed when they heard the decision. Lamont Roach Jr., he landed 112 of 400 punches. And Gervonta Tank Davis only landed 103 punches of 279 punches. Do you understand me? Lamont Roach dictated the fight. He pressed the action. He dictated the pace. He made Gervonta Tank Davis more uncomfortable in spots than we have ever seen Gervonta Tank Davis. Lamont Roach Jr., the 130-pounder that moved up to 135 pounds to fight Gervonta Tank Davis, wobbled Gervonta Tank Davis and forced him to take a knee. But somehow, these judges scored it a majority decision, 114-114 with two judges, and then 115-113 for Gervonta Tank Davis, meaning that even with all the evidence that I'm just talking about right now, one judge still had Gervonta Tank Davis winning. That's not just questionable. In my opinion, that's a robbery. This decision is horrible for boxing. This is the politics of boxing, because Lamont Roach Jr. wasn't supposed to win. He was a champion. Tank Davis been making all these other champions move up in weight to face him, and Tank thought it was gonna be a walkthrough, And guess what? Lamont Roach Jr. wasn't supposed to win, and since he wasn't supposed to win, the politics of boxing have to win. So they did what any person who know that Tank lost did. They said, oh, you know what? We're gonna just make this a draw. You got me? Because Lamont Roach Jr., in my opinion, was supposed to be another name on Tank's highlight reel. They thought Tank was going to get him out of there. They thought, but he flipped that script. You got what I'm saying? And he did not get rewarded for it. Shame on boxing. Very angry right now. But hey, it is what it is. I still love boxing. You know what I'm saying? The bottom line is this: Lamont Roach won this fight. So we don't need to say, oh, it just was what the judges said, or, he should have knocked him out. No, we just need to call it what it is it was a robbery based on the criteria of boxing, based on the conversation that I had, which was that missed knockdown that should have been given to Lamont Roach. That should have pushed him to the win right there. The illegal act, getting his face wiped off. Like, what? In my opinion, the referee controls, and the rules, the referee controls the action in the ring. You can't just go over to the corner and get your face wiped off. What, he gonna go over to get a steroid shot next? And it's, oh, my hand hurting. Just give me a little steroid shot right here. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what? It's just a biased judge. All these judges were biased, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because they protected the bigger name, because they are saving the sport of boxing. You got me? So had the rules been followed, in my opinion, Lamont Roach would have been holding the WBA lightweight title right now instead of, it's just injustice, man. It's just, it makes me very angry, and I had to do this, man. But what do you think? Do you think that Lamont Roach Jr. got robbed, or do you think I'm being dramatic? Do you think this decision should be overturned? Because they could overturn it if he get the lawyer involved. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep this conversation going. But what I will say this. Look, man. To be an underdog is very mentally challenging. You have to face a lot when you are underdog. When nobody wants you to win and you got to go out there and try to win anyway, that is very, very difficult. And I understand that underdogs don't always get their hands raised, but they do earn respect. And Lamont Roach Jr., he walked into the Blockade Center as a guy that people didn't think had a chance, right? And then he walked out as a fighter who made Tank look so beatable. He showed up, he showed out, he had the heart, and he shocked the whole world. You got what I'm saying? So I'm gonna tell you like this. I think I told you in another video. Look, man, sometimes in life, you're gonna have people that count you out. They gonna say all kind of crazy things. They are your ops, right? But just like this story right here, look, you know what you're capable of. So don't let other people tell you what you capable of. You just show up and you put on your best performance. And you let the world see how great you are. You got what I'm saying? Hey, these are my thoughts. This is serious grind boxing because I'm dedicated to the grind. So feel free to chime in. I took a long time. I had to talk about this thing. I'm telling you, this is like a whole podcast. So if you are really at this point, oh my goodness, I don't even know what to tell you, but thank you. I appreciate you. Leave your name in the comments so I can personally give you a thank you, because it is very, very difficult to listen to somebody just talk and talk and talk and talk. So it just tells me that you love boxing how I love boxing. And I'm just a casual boxing fan, but I'm on a serious grind. I'm gonna talk to you soon.